Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome back. I want to thank everybody for understanding me kind of having to duck out there for a day or two to deal with graduation stuff my son had back at Friday night. And then he had graduation Saturday, and then we had graduation parties with, family and stuff on Saturday evening. And then I've forgotten that we also had things scheduled on Sunday too. So I spent most of my day Sunday doing that kind of stuff. So thank you for your understanding. Graduation was good. He has survived high school and will now be going to college in the fall. Looking forward to that. So, anyway, late 20th century. We're going to be talking about that. You're reading Bonfire of Vanities, which is a really good book. I hope you enjoy it. It's long, but the reading's not particularly difficult. So, I don't think there should be too much problem for you. You will find most of the characters are unlikable. That's the way Tom Wolfe wrote it. So, do the reading, make sure that you do your postings and such. I would also, though, encourage you. You will see in the videos this week, I put a bunch of little YouTube clips up. They're from films, mostly from films in the 80s, although one is an episode of The Twilight Zone from the late 50s. And then there's more recent film, too. So definitely take a look at those. What I want you to think about when you're looking at them is the notion of materialism as using stuff to represent ideas. Ideas like success. Ideas like wealth. Ideas like the American dream. These kinds of things. Using stuff. Specific stuff. And sometimes that stuff might not be, something that you have and hold in front of you. Sometimes it might be. For example, this is what they call a hug. One of those little juice drinks. A friend of mine was talking about this Saturday night, so I went out, I bought a couple of them Sunday. He was talking about this, that when he was a kid, to him, these just represented summer. Because over the summer, his mom and dad would buy these things for him, and he was allowed to have one of them each day, as sort of a treat. And this went when he was a little kid, he was in elementary school. And so these little hugs to him, holding one, to me, this is not something that my parents bought. I don't think I ever even had one of these until I was a little bit older. But to me, this is just really watered down, bad, orange drink. Yeah, not very impressive. But to him, this carries the weight of ideas with it. Ideas about childhood. Ideas about innocence, about good times with friends and family and such, and those ideas are powerful. And I think that part of the materialism thing that we have to address and we have to look at is how things represent ideas and concepts and other experiences. And we've talked about that a little bit. We talked about that with the holidays. We talked about that back on Winthrop's Day. We talked about it with religion. We talked about that with masculinity. Okay. So now let's talk about it, again, with other stuff. Maybe broader notions of the American dream. One of the video clips is an animation piece called The Collapse of the American Dream. It's really well done. There are certainly problematic elements to it. The international Jewish banking conspiracy thing that it's kind of got going on is a little bit troublesome. So just because I put it up does not mean I endorse it, okay? It just means I think it's important to watch and to look at, okay? So anyway, but definitely, take a look at that and think about what they're getting at, this house and this dog and the American dream with all of that. Look at, the clip from The Devil Wears Prada, right? Where, talking about sort of, well, that's a cerulean blue sweater, and what you don't know is all of these things attached to it. It's actually a pretty powerful passage. It's a great film. If you have time, you should watch the whole thing, especially if you're interested in the idea of gender and materialism. That film, when I teach courses that are gender heavy, like if this course was longer, we would do more of that. We would watch that whole film because it just is that good at kind of getting at these things. So definitely take a look at that. There's an excellent Twilight Zone episode, A Stop at Willoughby, just to show that, again, this whole thing of materialism. Here you have a character who is longing for a return to simpler days, right? He has this office job, a sort of high-powered career, but he wants to go back to a simpler time, at Willoughby and whatnot. And then look at his wife and kind of where she falls, again, to hit the sort of gendered issue of it, right? Think about that. Think about the juxtaposition that, in some ways, aren't women stereotypically supposed to be the ones who are sentimental about these things, and men are supposed to be the ones who are, not... They flip the gender roles. You can even see it in the way they consume their alcoholic beverages. They're flipping the gender script. So think about that, too, okay? Again, and the whole gender thing, we can even go in with that further in The Devil Wears Prada. There are readings of that film that are very sort of feminist readings, where they see it as empowering, and there were feminist readings of it that see it as disempowering. And it's really interesting to me. My question that I always ask folks is, if the main character, and now I'm blanking on her name, but the young lady, intern, girl, assistant, and the older editor, if they were both male, how would this movie be different? I think it would be very different. Would not have the same effect. And a lot of this deals with gender stereotypes and such. So, anyway, it's my spiel there. Definitely watch this. Just be aware that these clips tend to be pretty salty in terms of language. There's a lot of slurs in them. They're not, they're not for children, right? But we're not children. We're adults, and we're talking about this way. So it's the closest thing to a trigger warning you're ever going to get from me. But I do feel like it's worth mentioning. That just be prepared. Maybe don't watch this around your, young children, whether they be your children or younger brothers and sisters. Anyway, last thing that I wanted to mention was this notion of sort of sales that we're getting at here, and its role and kind of how it plays into things. Sales is a fascinating field. I used to be a car salesman from 2004, the beginning of 2004 until 2007. And during that time, I spent most of the time at a Hyundai and Kia dealership doing a lot of bad credit, no credit car sales. And that did very, very well there. And this was before the financial collapse of 2008, and subprime lending was completely different back then. We were able to get people bought who had just signed their bankruptcy papers. We could get them a loan. But I do want to punch home this sort of notion that one of the interesting aspects here to me with the Wolf of Wall Street clip, the Glengarry Glen Ross clip and whatnot, the use of materialism as a way to encourage salespeople, not just to go make a decent living, but to, the way that it uses sort of victory language. They encourage you to win. Like it's a game, like it's a competition. He who dies with the most toys wins was one of the slogans that a lot of our salespeople used to use. There was a lot of that kind of thing. That whole, sell them till they buy or till they die. That was the slogan and whatnot. I remember coming in for Saturday morning sales meetings, and our boss is saying, if you're not here to make $500 today, then get out. Just get out. We don't want you here. You're worthless to us. Get out. And it was an intense lifestyle. And when you see the Jordan Belfort video where he's using the script, that's real. I actually helped develop a phone script for our car lot. And you know what? I sold 1/3 of all of the calls that came in that were sales calls. I sold them 1/3 national closing average back then on phone calls was like 4%. I was closing 30%. So we were doing something right. And it's very interesting to me to kind of think about this, this sort of sales thing as part of materialism and whatnot. So I'm going to wrap up this video so that you've got time to watch your other videos and whatnot. But, think about them as you're going forward, okay? If you have questions and whatnot, don't forget to get your peer reviews done for your partner. Make sure that you get them to your partner. Make sure that you also post them up for me in the little Dropbox that is marked for peer reviews. That way I can take a look and just make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Make sure that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you here, okay? None of this that was really interesting. Okay, that's not what they need to hear. They need to hear your thesis is hard to find. Your evidence seems shaky. Your organization doesn't make sense. It's not that you want to beat them up, but you got to be straight up with them. I know for me, when I get a peer review done, I want the criticism so that I can produce the best product possible. Okay? Hopefully you feel the same way. Anyway, it goes, as I said, I'll sign off now. But make sure that you get those up and whatnot. If you have questions, feel free to drop me a text or a call. I would encourage you to drop me a text because right now I'm not checking my email as much as I should just because the two-factor authentication thing is weird over the summer. I'm not sure why, but it's just acting up on us some. So feel free to email, text, whatever. Email through Canvas is actually better than email through webmail in terms of me getting it quickly, because I can check that on my phone, whereas the actual webmail does not like my phone at all. So anyway, regardless, if you need something, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a good one. Gals, have a good one. And keep on going. You're more than halfway there. Bye-bye.